Welcome to NCIX Tech Tips. Today's episode is about a couple of things. First of all, it is a full formal episode about the Radeon HD 6900 series graphics cards. So that is the 6970 as well as the 6950. Okay, it is also a full episode about the Samsung MD230X3 monitor, and I say monitor because it's clearly more than one monitor, and why these two products are a match made in heaven for Eyefinity. So I'm starting you guys out midstream. First of all, this is a 6970. There's also one in the system behind me. This is our AMD Dream Machine that we did a build guide of a little while ago. So in here we have an 1100T X6 processor. We've got a Corsair 850 watt power supply. We've got a premium 6970 graphics card. We've got 4 gigs of Corsair Dominator GT memory. We got SSD boot drives. We got everything going on in there. We've got a Crosshair 4 Formula motherboard from ASUS. That is our ultimate AMD machine. The only thing it could potentially need is another 6970 in Crossfire, but that's sort of a story for another day. So what am I doing here? This is what's called bezel correction. So this is a feature in the AMD driver that allows me to have an uninterrupted view of anything that is spanning the multiple monitors. So what do I mean by that? What I mean is this exactly. So look at this triangle right here. You can clearly see if I run at, what would it be? 3 times HD resolution, so that is 1080 by 5760, I think. I hope I'm right. Okay, so 3 times HD resolution. It means that there's a gap here. So that's why this line does not quite meet up with this line. So bezel correction allows me to stretch out the resolution of my monitor here, my single Eyefinity enabled display, to compensate for that gap. So it means it's not great for text. Let's say you had a really wide text document. You wouldn't want to use bezel correction because it would mean that some of the words would actually be covered because the ATI or AMD driver is creating extra pixels in between your monitors. But now you see for gaming, where you have an image that is in between, now I have a straight line, so my triangle looks correct. So if there's some guy and I'm creeping up behind him, I'm gonna slit his throat with my knife or whatever, his shoulder is going to be a clean line here and a clean line here instead of having that interruption. So this is how you configure it. I think all I have to do is click this one. Just confirm that that's correct. Are the test patterns correct? Yes, they are. Now I have enabled bezel correction, so I'm gonna show you guys why this is the ultimate thin bezel, triple monitor, 3x HD Eyefinity experience. Now, obviously, guys, a setup like this lends itself pretty well to racing games because with this setup, it's all about the huge graphics horsepower that we've got as well as the improved bezel width. So you can see with the MD230X3, each set of 2 bezels next to each other is even still thinner than a single bezel on most 24 or 23 inch class monitors. So, wow, I'm just driving terribly here. But so really this experience is all about delivering smooth frame rates at 3x HD resolution and getting that immersiveness that you get without the distracting, huge, thick bezel in between each screen. So we've got a driving game now. This is Grid. It's one of my personal favorites, although I'm not very good at it, as you can plainly see from my attempts to drive here. And we'll show you a couple other genres. One of the ones that I really think benefits the most from the thinner bezels is actually FPS gaming, because that's one where the gap that you can't see when you're using bezel correction on wider bezel monitors is going to be a big problem because it could actually hide an enemy, not just like a pylon on the side of the road. Yep. Okay, so here we are in Battlefield Bad Company 2, which is one of my favorite benchmark titles these days, and I just want to show you guys another example of what bezel correction does in a game. Okay, so over here, you can see we've got the shadow of the power line. Okay, so I'll look up at the power line that's up there. There you go, there's the power line. In fact, we've got the power line itself. So you can see that it doesn't look unnatural and disjointed the way that it would if we don't use bezel correction. And with a normal bezel, you're probably covering about that much of it. So you'd have this huge gap. So I'm going to show you what that would mean in terms of, let's say, an enemy. Like, in theory, an enemy wouldn't be much closer than that unless you're trying to knife him, right? So let's say he shows up here. You have a wider bezel. That enemy is only going to be a sliver of shoulder on this side and a sliver of shoulder on the other side. With this nice thin bezel, he's got to be pretty far away in order to actually be hidden by it. Even then, you should probably still be looking around pretty frequently. But yeah, let's do some more gameplay. So this is the 6970, just, you know, rocking 3x HD resolution. I don't remember what detail settings I'm playing on, but I believe they are quite high. I'll show you guys before I wrap this up, and just so that you can be appropriately impressed by the 6970 and all its gaming power and glory and all that good stuff. Let's get some explosions happening here. Let's take out the guy with the rocket. Oh, shoot. No, it's all good. It's all good. I got him. It's all good. Okay, let's take out this guy. Whoops, some guy's shooting at me with a shotgun from 300 million miles away. That won't be very successful. I'm playing on easy, I apologize, because it's pretty hard to play on like hard mode when I'm also trying to you know, host a video over here at the same time. So please forgive me, guys. I don't normally play games on easy, I really don't. But let's throw a grenade at this guy. Come on, reload, boom. Okay, so that's our FPS demo. Thank you for checking it out. See if we can find some more titles here to show you guys on our triple monitor display. Oh, wait. So guys, here are the settings I was running at. So we're running at 5908 by 1080. So that's a weird resolution because of our bezel correction. And then everything is up on high, 4x anti-aliasing and 8x anisotropic filtering. So that's a very high level of detail for a single card on 3 monitors. Well, it appears that we are approaching the Ember Forge. This is my actual Torchlight game, so I'm hoping not to destroy things too badly as I try and demo for you guys what a top-down view RPG would look like on this style of display. And I also want to keep the emphasis on the narrow bezel design of this particular set of monitors. So show you guys sort of how that affects what we're doing here. There's a remnant from Ulrich's journal. The story of this game is fairly trivial, so I'm not going to worry too much about reading it. But here, I'm going to go over here and just show you guys. There's not a whole lot that actually gets hidden. Oh, and I'm going to die. This is awesome. Wow. Outstanding. Resurrect at the entrance to, I'll lose 67 gold, big deal. Okay, so I lost 67 gold. But anyway, okay, you can see that there's not a whole lot hidden in terms of enemies or anything like that by the narrow bezels. So the last thing we're gonna do is a third person shooter game, and then we will wrap things up. So that's Torchlight on our triple monitor display. You can sure see a lot of the dungeon with such a wide view of things. So here's the third person, I guess, shooter, because it's more of a melee combat game for the most part. I mean, you can throw batarangs and whatnot, but yeah, the experience is definitely pretty cool for this. I mean, I can see, like, you know, almost behind me, I have such a wide field of vision. Like, check this out. So yeah, like, look, I can see this guy coming up behind me from like forever away. Hold on, I'm gonna just try and get out of the corner here. It's very difficult to do this while I'm trying to talk about things and sound coherent and all that good stuff. And I think I have the difficulty set up a little bit high for what I'm trying to do right now. But anyway, there you go. There's Batman Arkham Asylum. That's what it looks like, depending on what kind of a view I'm going for, whether I'm playing more top-down, tactical, or whether I'm playing sort of more behind him, whatever I prefer. Bezel correction, same thing as usual, is awesome. It's really nice to have the thin bezels so I don't have too much of my enemies hidden. especially in a nice close combat game like this. And I died. It's probably going to be Joker because I'm so early on in the game. So that's pretty much everything that I had to say as far as games go. The point of this episode is A, match made in heaven, this video card, that monitor, awesome. B, how far has Eyefinity come since we did our original Eyefinity episode with the release of the 5870. So Eyefinity obviously is better performance these days. You can see we can even run Battlefield Bad Company 2 at triple HD resolution off of a single high-end card. Not to mention that the 6970 at launch is cheaper than the 5870 was at launch, so it's gotten more affordable. We've also got way better availability of monitors, just way better availability of monitors, because back then there were maybe a couple monitors on the market that supported DisplayPort. And DisplayPort is a critical part of Eyefinity because you have to have at least one DisplayPort capable panel in order to run Eyefinity, or an active DisplayPort adapter, which back then would cost you about $100, so it was a big problem. So now we have lots of different monitors from tons of different vendors with DisplayPort. We've even got LED backlit monitors with DisplayPort. We've got great technologies like these thin bezel designs from the likes of Samsung. So really, Eyefinity has come a very long way in the short year that it's been available. In fact, we can even support additional monitors now with Eyefinity. The 6000 series cards, the 6870 and the 6970 have support for up to 4 monitors in Eyefinity mode. So the last thing I want to talk about is to give you guys a question at the end of our episode. So having seen what the gaming experience is like on triple monitors, you might not necessarily be looking at this setup, because I'll be brutally honest with you guys, this is a very, very expensive setup, these 3 panels. But have you been enticed to at least look into the possibility of Eyefinity on the cheap? Because it didn't used to be possible. DisplayPort monitors were all expensive. Now you can get a cheap DisplayPort adapter. You can get 3, even 20-inch panels for just dirt cheap these days. Are you convinced that in the year this technology's been on the market, it's matured enough for you to consider? Thanks for checking out NCIX Tech Tips, and don't forget to subscribe.